Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to part 6 of our 6-part Eternal Masters full set review. So if you've been watching the series, of course, we've made our way through all the colors in the color pie. We've also looked at all the multicolor cards at this point, so all that's left is the colorless cards, and for this set specifically, that means artifacts and lands. So again, if you've been watching the series, you know that this isn't a normal set or a normal set review. These are some of those powerful cards in the history of Magic. These are all reprints. We really already know what these cards can do, what they're capable of, so this review is more limited focus, and what we have been looking at are some of the archetypes in each of the color combinations and where cards kind of fit best into those archetypes. Now, having said that, if you've been listening to the previous installments, you know that every pair of colors really has a viable draft archetype, which is amazing. This set is designed like a very well designed cube in that regard. But in addition, you can go deep in this set. You can go 3 colors, you can go 4 color good stuff, 5 color good stuff. Try to draft the Hondens deck, for example. Now, some of the cards that we're going to see today are going to help enable those multicolor strategies, and we also have some more supplemental colorless cards that go well in some of the other strategies as well. So, having said that, let's get started. First, we have Ashnod's Altar. So this is a very powerful card. Don't underestimate this. I used to play with it a lot in the old days of Magic. And just the fact that you can sacrifice a creature to get 2 colorless mana, and you can keep repeating that as often as you like, as long as you have creatures, is very, very good. So this fits into actually a number of decks. If you feel like you have a premium creature towards the top of your curve you would like to get to faster, it wouldn't hurt to include one of these in your deck in a case like that. Now, this excels in a few different archetypes. Obviously, the Boros archetype comes to mind because there's a lot of small creatures. It's all about going wide. You can get some enhanced value to get to maybe one big top-end creature. Another deck where this will be very good is the Rakdos deck, because that's kind of a sacrifice for profit deck anyway, and you have things like Blood Artist, so you may get another trigger or 2 just by sacrificing a creature and still getting the mana from this. So you just get bonuses in that regard. This could also be good in the Orzhov deck, because that's more of a flicker recursion deck. Again, there's a lot of ways to pull stuff back out of the graveyard, so you can kind of recycle some of your creatures and continue to get more mana if you need it. So it fits into a lot of places, so keep an eye out for this one. Next, we have Chromemox, and obviously this is very powerful. It's called Mox. I love the new art that is on this card. This, of course, is a mythic. The only thing that can be awkward sometimes about Chromemox is you do have to exile a non-artifact, non-land card. Sometimes that feels a little strange, especially if you're on the play. However, as long as you can stay ahead of your opponent when it comes to mana production, and this is what this card will do for you, you are at a great advantage. So it's still a very, very powerful card. You're not going to see it all the time, obviously, but it's definitely worth playing when you can get it. Duplicants. This is colorless removal, so that's pretty good if you don't have a lot of removal options in your particular color, or you weren't able to draft a lot. Blue comes to mind as maybe this is a good card to kind of go along with a blue deck, or just any deck where you're short removal. It's going to be just fine for you. It's a little pricey. It's a rare. You're not going to see it all the time, but you don't want to run, obviously, like 2 of these in your deck. One's enough. And as far as the creature itself goes, the creature doesn't have any evasion, so not to say you can't get a decent sized creature at times with this card, but it's not going to be super great probably in the late game. You're really using this more for the removal piece. MSC Totem. Now, this is very pricey, so it's a great effect. I mean, draw 2 cards and discard a card is fantastic. Eventually, you get card advantage when you use this a few times, and also just the fact that some of the decks do want to discard stuff into the graveyard. And I'm thinking Dimir, which is reanimation. I'm thinking Simic, which wants to feel a threshold by putting stuff in the graveyard. The only problem is, again, is just the fact that it costs 4 to cast and 5 to activate. So maybe this works best in the Simic deck, just simply because you have some ramp available to you in green, and then you can also use this to start to populate your graveyard. Other than that, I don't know if this is always going to make your cut. It's a fine card, but you just want to have enough mana to activate this. Great mana sink if you have the extra ramp, but not always going to be useful for you. Goblin Char Belcher. This is probably here more for the constructed scene in some ways, but at the same time, this is still a very powerful card. As long as you think you can afford to spend the mana to not only get it out, but activate it every turn, it can be quite good. It deals with creatures that are problematic. It is a little bit random. There's some variance to this card, so you do want to keep that in mind. But it's a great mana sink to have so that you can hopefully take care of some creatures and also just whittle down your opponent over time. Now, this works probably best in, say, an Izzet deck where you already have some burn backup, so you can continue to burn out creatures and maybe even your opponent while activating this at the same time and just doubling down on that damage. Next we have Isochron Scepter, which is an amazing Izzet card as well, but really can fit into a lot of builds as long as you have enough 2 or less casting cost instants. If there's a fair amount of those in your deck to target, then this is going to be phenomenal for you. It's a rare, you're not going to see it all the time, but it combos so well with things like Counterspell. Counterspell not only just slows your opponent down, but it really forces them to find a couple answers to get rid of this card. It can be really backbreaking really quick. Even something like a Brainstorm attached to this is going to help you dig through your deck and get card advantage eventually. Really an amazing card. Juggernaut, another old school creature. Don't underestimate it. It's easy to overlook because, oh, it's Juggernaut. We've seen it a million times. It's still very, very good. There's a couple walls in this deck in blue, so that is potentially relevant. However, just the fact that you have a 4 casting cost 5/3 in a set that has a fair amount of ramp and mana rocks and stuff, you could get this out sort of quick and really just beat down your opponent before they know what happened. Mana Crypt. Speaking of mana acceleration, this is the best you'll find. It is a mythic. You're not going to see it a whole lot, and yes, there is a downside. People do unfortunately drive their own life total down to nothing sometimes with Mana Crypt. However, you're playing a free Soul Ring. If you can get this out early, play this on turn 1, you're just really most likely winning the game, right? It's just too much mana advantage for your opponent to catch up. You just pull ahead, you start playing your threats, something like, say, a Juggernaut on like turn 2, for example, and you're in a real good place real quick. Always play this, it's phenomenal. Milliken. This is another card that's going to really be all about kind of ramping out your mana. It does cost you 1 mil to do so, but this only costs 2 to cast, so this is fantastic for just acceleration purposes. There are some decks, again, like I mentioned earlier, that do want to populate the graveyard as well, so this could be okay maybe in the Dimir Reanimation. Probably will excel again more in the Simic Threshold deck. Could even be a little helpful for you in like the Orzhov deck because there's a lot of recursion in that deck. So sometimes you do get a little bit of bonus off the mill, but for the most part, you're using this just to accelerate your mana. Mindless Automaton. This is a fine creature. It's going to be better in certain decks. Obviously, if you're looking for a discard outlet, this is a pretty fine one. It's going to be fine again in the Reanimation deck and in the Simic deck that wants that type of thing. But sometimes it's an okay value creature too. You just put this out. If your opponent can't deal with it right away, you're able to discard some cards, make it bigger, maybe get in for a little damage. And then when they finally are able to get rid of it, you just kind of cash out the counters and draw cards. So you can find a little bit of value there just by helping you dig deeper into your deck as well. Nevinyrral's Disc. A little awkward that they printed this without maybe a fantastic combo to go with it. I'm thinking of things like, I was really hoping to see Oubliette, for example. I think was a card that really needed to be in the set for the Pauper folks and would have worked really well with Nevinyrral's Disc. However, we didn't get that, so Nevinyrral's Disc is still a good card. It's a board sweep. It's a panic button. It's also a way to kind of hang on to this in your hand for a little bit, allow your opponent to overcommit, hopefully get some value there. The only thing is it's not as fast as a Wrath of God, so when you play this, comes into play tapped, your opponent has a turn to react to it, whether that means holding on to a creature, not overcommitting too much, or just simply finding a way to destroy it. It isn't always the sure shot like Wrath of God can be. But if you don't have Wrath of God, and you're not in white, for example, but you still want an effect like this, then Nevinyrral's Disc is an option. Again, it's a rare. You're not going to see this a whole lot, but it's there for you if you need it. Also can help you deal with some problematic artifacts or enchantments. Might be good against the Selesnya enchantment deck. Pilgrim's Eye, and this is here to help you go deep, help you get to your third color, your fourth color, your fifth color. It's not the worst thing in a 2-color deck. It does ensure that you hit your land drop. I mean, you don't really want to be paying 3 for a 1/1, but if you're in a deck that is very important that you're hitting your land drops, like probably the Izzet deck, which is a little more controlling, is a good example of that, then this might still be fine for you. But for the most part, this is really here to help you color fix. Prismatic Land. Speaking of color fix, this is another way to do it. On top of that, this is also a cheap mana rock, so even if I'm in a 2-color deck, I'd feel okay playing Prismatic Lens because it's going to help accelerate me a little bit. Relic of Progenitus. This is actually a really fine sideboard card. There's a lot of things going on in the graveyard in this set, so whenever you come up against an opponent that is doing some of those shenanigans, bring this in to put a stop to it. So this can help slow down the Simic Threshold deck. It can mess with the Dimir Animation deck. It can mess with the Orzhov deck that's trying to put stuff in the graveyard and then recur it. It can mess with the Rakdos deck, even that is sacrificing a lot, and potentially has some ways to recur their creatures as well. Basically, even if your opponent is light into any of those elements, Relic of Progenitus could be good for you. Even Izzet has a pretty strong flashback mechanic that could be messed up by this, but really these type of mechanics show up all across the board. So keep an eye out for an opportunity. When it's there, sideboard this in. Senseis Divining Top. Now, very, very powerful card. It's a rare. You're not going to see it all the time, but when you do get this, play it. This is incredible. It just lets you dig deeper into your deck, find the answers you need, and even in a pinch, it allows you to swap this for the top card of your library and kind of accelerate that card into your hand. Incredibly good. The only thing awkward about this card is, especially players who've never played with it before, sometimes it makes games go really long if they're really kind of looking at their cards, thinking about what they want to do. And the worst thing in the world is when you activate top and then forget what's on top of your library and have to activate it again. So you do see some of that, but for the most part, play this. This is going to be incredible for you. Ticking Gnomes. This is okay. I mean, you get a 3/3 for 3, unfortunately, as Echo 3. Where this is really going to shine probably is the Rakdos deck, where when you do sacrifice this, sure, it does a point of damage, but maybe you can get some other effects out of it as well. Next, we have Winter Orb. So we've already seen some pretty awesome mana rocks, right? And we actually have another one coming up next. So if you have some Prismatic Lenses, if you're lucky enough to get a Chromemox, Milliken, some mana dorks from either green or black. If you have these cards, then Winter Orb might be a good option to throw in your deck. You might be able to lock your opponent out on mana. They're tapping their lands, you're tapping mana rocks, which can untap. You get the advantage, and you can even get colored mana from Prismatic Lens, or if you're real lucky, again, Chromemox. Next is Worn Power Stone, another card that's going to go really well with that Winter Orb strategy. However, it's not just all about the Winter Orb strategy. This is extremely good if you ever played with Worn Power Stone before. I know this was recently in some of the Commander products, but pay 3, sure, it comes into play tap, but at that point you have a Soul Ring. It's still really, really, really good. Wouldn't hesitate to play this in any of the builds. Alright, let's move on to lands, and we're going to start off with a cycle of 10 lands, and these are your common level dual lands. They come into play tapped, but you do gain a life. We've seen these before, obviously not that long ago, but they're really here to enable the multicolor strategies, whether you're just splashing a third or you're trying to go deep with 4 color good stuff or 5 color good stuff. So we have Bloodfell Caves, which of course is black-red, Blossoming Sands, which is green-white, Dismal Backwater, which is blue-black, Jungle Hollow, which is black-green, Rugged Highlands, which is red-green, Scoured Barrens, which is white-black, Swiftwater Cliffs, which is blue-red, Thornwood Falls, which is green-blue, Tranquil Cove, which is white-blue, and Wind-Scarred Crag, which is red and white. Alright, let's look at some of the other non-basics in the set now. So let's start with Caracas. Now, Caracas, probably here more again for the constructed scene. This was a card that was $150. Really nice to see a reprint. Now, it is a mythic. You're not going to see it all the time. But when you do get it, it does have some value in this limited environment. They do have legendary creatures in all the 5 colors. If your opponent's playing one of those, this is a great foil to that. And just the fact that it could be potentially reanimated into play early, you put Caracas down and goes back to their hand, and you really come out quite a ways ahead out of that exchange. So it's very good. It can also help you protect your own legendary creatures, so that's also a thing as well. Playing this just blindly in the main deck, if you're in white, really doesn't have much of a drawback to it. I mean, it's basically a plains with an extra ability. Sure, it's legendary, but obviously you're not going to have two of these. It's mythic, right? And the only drawback I can think of off the top of my head is Price of Progress, which your opponent's probably not going to play against you unless you have a whole bunch of other non-basic lands as well. So yeah, this could be quite good in the right circumstance. Maze of Ith, another very powerful card that sometimes is overlooked. Just the fact that there was a time in Standard when the environment was all about things like Juggernauts and Mazes of Ith really says something. So Maze of Ith, now, it doesn't give you mana. This is one of those old school land cards. It doesn't tap for mana, so when you build your deck, you want to take that into consideration. This is really more of a spell than it is a traditional land, so keep that in mind. But other than that, this is fantastic. Basically nullifies your opponent's best creature so it can't attack in. Now, they can still block with it because this does untap the creature, but it is a very defensive card. It's going to help protect you, especially if you're trying to set up an engine. For example, maybe you're in the Flyers deck. It may take you a few turns to get your Flyers out. Maybe you're in the Is It deck and you're trying to build up your mana so that you can start casting some of your spells and your direct damage. This is just a great way to defend yourself. Next, we have Mishra's Factory. This obviously works very well with board sweep effects. So we saw Navinaral's Disc earlier. We know Wrath of God is in the set, so is Toxic Deluge. So if you're playing any of those type strategies, it doesn't hurt to run maybe one or two Mishra's Factories. You might get a little value out of it. Finally, the last card of the set, and ironically, one of the first ones that was spoiled back when the set was revealed, it's Wasteland. And yes, this is incredibly powerful. Now it's rare, you're not going to see it all the time. It's, I think, completely main deckable just because even if your opponent doesn't have non-basic lands, you're still getting to tap this for colorless, so it's not a complete loss. And if your opponent is running non-basic lands, this thing's a beating in certain circumstances. So if they're going deep, maybe trying to even splash a third color or go 4 or 5 colors, you take out the right basic land at the right time, take them off a color, that could be backbreaking. It's also good for dealing with some of the other problematic lands that are in the set, like Maze of Ith or even a Mishra's Factory, certain circumstances. So this is good. It can definitely do some work for you. It's probably, again, more here for the constructed scene, considering this was a card that still, even after the announcement that it was reprinted, is still a $60, $70 card. But it's phenomenal in the right circumstances. All right, having said that, that is the entire Eternal Master set. We made it. So, now that we've seen the whole thing, let me know in the comments below what you think of the limited scene and what archetypes you're a fan of, what cards you're a fan of, what you think they missed that should have been in there. Goblin Guide jumps to mind, for example. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts. I know a lot of people feel that they are kind of disappointed by the print run of this product, which I totally understand. Feel it's kind of sad that Wizards has made such an amazing draft set, and unfortunately a lot of people aren't going to have the opportunity to draft it, either because they won't be able to find product or because they won't be able to afford it at the prices that it's starting to really get up to, which is very disappointing, I think. So hopefully in the future Wizards learns from this type of thing. I'd like to see this type of product printed at least with a little more volume behind it, just so more players can get a chance to experience it. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.